Can you be on both sides at the same time? Talking to a friend today, I made the claim or pointed out that what no self really means is there's no taking sides. Now, that's not a definition. And if you hang your hat on that, you'll miss the whole point. But it's an entry point. It's a way of describing something that's literally impossible to describe. No self is not a state, a stage. It's not an experience. At best, I can say it's a statement about something that's not there, that sure seems to be there for a long time until it doesn't. But when it's clearly experienced or seen or known, surmised, intuited, then it's exquisitely obvious. More obvious than anything you know about yourself, any history you have, any thought, belief, even your physical experiences right now of being alive. It's more obvious than any of that there is no such thing as a distinct, separate self. And that doesn't mean that that's the case for you. You see how absurd that would be? It's just how it is. There is no self hiding inside of any body. What gets really weird is even the sense that there's bodies, distinct separation, boundaries, a distance between or a difference between the body and the world and the universe. All of this is seen to be illusory. What does it feel like? What is left? It feels like love. That's pretty much the only word I could probably put to it. But even that seems to limit it to a certain experience, and there's a lot of connotations around love. So what does it mean to be on both sides at the same time? In reference to the conversation, I was pointing to the very subtle impressions that our mind makes with experience, including mystical experiences or even non-dual experiences, that begin to solidify into an experiencer, or the one that had that experience, or the one that's having that experience. You ever wonder where an experience of vastness and intense presence turns into a story about that? A memory? Well, one important point about this is it never does. It's always there. That's the weirdest part about the whole deal. It's never left you. Ever. Ever. It couldn't. It's just this way. The presence is always there. Right? And if you believe that, or if you trust that, or if your instinct says that's true, and at the same time, your mind rails against that because it says, well, why in the hell don't I experience it all the time then? How could it be so obscured just by thoughts? Then that's a good thing. That friction is powerful. That suffering is the way. It's your entry point. If it wasn't for that, you might just sort of stay kind of halfway asleep in thoughts like most of us are. So, the friction between the instinct that it is true that vivid, non-dual presence, lack of any solidity anywhere, or any boundary is actually true. And yet, it's obvious that you may not be experiencing it most of the time, at least from where you perceive yourself to be looking from, feeling from, experiencing from, thinking from. That friction is perfect. That's what's waking you up. That's what's dissolving the sense of the you that's waking up. However you say that. There's no good way to say it. So how do you be on both sides at the same time on this? See it for what it is. See frustration for what it is. Frustration is an experience You can find it in the body. And if you look closely enough at that experience, there's actually nothing there. And because there's nothing there, then whatever it is that's making it solid, seemingly a thing, seemingly something to have a relationship with or avoid, must be here somewhere. The subject, the sense of a subject. So how do you find a sense of a subject? You just stop looking. You are the sense of a subject. Don't worry about what you are. You don't need an answer to that question. There is no answer to that question, and it's not something you're going to find because you're looking from it. So see that sense of a subject that's overlooked all the time, because again, you're looking from it, is related to that sense of frustration that you can perhaps find in the body, but at some point you won't even be able to find it as such because it's not a part. And when you are able to inhabit both of these truths, the pure sense I am with no thoughts, beliefs, distinctions, and the sense of what's at the core of frustration, this friction, directly, with no beliefs, labels, then you're on both sides. You can see neither one is right or wrong, neither one is apart from one another. There's no identity in any of it. There's no self in any of it. There's no finger on the scale. No preference. You can be all of it at the same time. And when you're all of it at the same time, there's no boundaries anymore. There's no it. There's no sides. And now you're on every side. And you're where no sides exist. And it's not a you. Just endless reflection of reality into itself. Vibrating between being and non-being. Every molecule, every particle, vibrating with this sort of aliveness. But it's life and death intertwined, intermixed, interpenetrated as one. You can't really know truth, living truth, as long as you're seeing one side of it. As long as there's a position. As long as there's a view, which is a self view. Without that view, everything's opened up. Infinite penetration in every direction, and where there is no direction. You don't need direction anymore. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to have one single thought to experience the entire universe. And what's there when there is no universe? It's that clear.